Well, hey there. This is Dr. Jennifer Gardella, and I am making a call that we stop using the word narcissist. I know this is a big industry disruptor, but it is critical because it can get victims into a lot of trouble, both with their abuser and also with the court system. So, what is a narcissist? Now, if you look at the definition of a narcissist, which is defined by the APA and the DSM-5, you know that there are a whole list of characteristics. They trample on boundaries, they have no empathy, they always need attention, they only care about themselves, they are self-absorbed and melodramatic, they use all of the techniques, hoovering, gaslighting, those are the big ones, but they also use love bombing. They believe that they are superior to others. I have a whole list here in case you're wondering. So they rage to the point of absurdity just to get everyone else in line and actually scared that they'll keep raging. They want to be the only one shining. No one else can shine. And there's a lot of people that fit these descriptions. In fact, most of the abusers that I have known fit that. They have all of those characteristics: degrade, humiliate, confuse, all of it. But you don't have an actual diagnosis, and that's a really big problem. So I'll tell you a story. Because for a long list of reasons, I wound up going on vacation with my children while I was still living with my abuser. And he was very angry that I had not canceled the vacation because it wasn't convenient for him and his kids to come. I had invited him. When I got home from vacation, he decided to punish me and actually had me sleeping on my dead ex-husband's mattress. You can head over to my blog at www.mystepsintime.com. I will link to it in the notes below. I know it sounds completely insane, but that's what happened. Once I realized that the mattress had been changed out, once I realized what mattress it was, I got very upset, slept in my daughter's room, and when I came down in next morning, he was sorting out the utensil drawer. He said something like, "Okay, we're splitting up. This is ridiculous. You can't get angry at me for things like that." It's a whole story. Anyway, I at that point called him a narcissist. It was one of the biggest mistakes I had ever made in our relationship. Now I do have a PhD in educational psychology, which is not anything related to regular psychology. There's a little crossover. But basically, me calling him a narcissist and me attaching this label to him gave him free rein then to criticize me. He said things like, "Oh, Dr. Gardella, are you psychoanalyzing me now? You're not qualified. You don't know that. Did your therapist tell you that? Did your coach tell you that? They don't know me. They've never met me." Oh my gosh, it was endless. So forget the dead ex-husband's mattress, forget the utensil drawer. Now he had something else to clamp onto, in that I had called him a narcissist. And that's then where he focused his attention. Where I do believe he was right, I didn't have the right to call him that. An abuser, a jerk, sure, but not a narcissist, because I don't have that diagnosis. Now, this can be really hard. The word narcissist is actually being thrown around a lot right now, and I think that that's going to water down the use of the word when we really need it for the right people. But for the short term and long term, I think it's in our best interest as those working in an advocacy space with abusers that we just refer to them as abusers. So the other issue is that you'll never get an actual diagnosis. So narcissist personality disorder, NPD, that really has to be diagnosed by a therapist, to be very honest with you. But narcs don't go see therapists. Abusers don't go see therapists. Why? Because they don't think that there's anything wrong with them. If they do, they spend all of their time attempting to prove that the victim/survivor is crazy. That happened to me in therapy with my abuser. They also spend all the time in the world lamenting about all of the hardships in their life. They completely steer the conversation away from the fact that they've done anything wrong. So they don't, and nowadays, a lot of therapists, once they catch wind that they're dealing with someone who's a serious domestic violence abuser, sadly, they won't even see the couple anymore, because these abusers have the ability and have over time shown that they then try to wreck the therapist's practice and life for if the therapist dares to side with the victim. So there's a lot of things going on in the world of calling someone a narcissist. And lastly, judges don't like it. Again, you don't have a diagnosis. Judges are not well trained enough to know that narcs don't go to therapy to get the diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis that anyone really wants. And so it's time that we start educating everybody on how harmful this word is, how much damage it can do to a victim and her case in court and in her life. If she starts walking around calling him a narcissist at home, her life will turn into what mine did. I did read one article which I thought was absolutely ridiculous, and here's where I'm not standing on the word narcissist. This one article actually made a case for, and I'll link to it as well, that we can't go around calling people narcissists because it flippantly is flippant and it's not respecting the pain that they live with. In my opinion, anyone who actually is classified as a narcissist and diagnosed with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and anyone who is an abuser is making a choice well beyond their diagnosis to scream, kick, punch, cheat, emotionally and psychologically abuse their victims, financially abuse them, gaslight, love bomb them. So the fact that now we somehow have to care about their pain with all the pain that they're causing in the world, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. And again, I'll link to it in the show notes, but it kind of, not in the show notes, in the comments below, but that was really insulting to me. So anyway, stop calling them narcs. Let's call them abusers, which I know is not as sexy, but I think it's really important because it'll help actually save victims and survivors from further damage from their abusers. Thanks for listening.